we have plenty more to talk about in a short while. But first, I want to welcome Zonia Penzorn, who is the head of marketing at Shout It Now. We'll find out what Shout It Now is all about. But I think we must talk a little bit about teen pregnancies and HIV rates in South Africa, because I heard a horrific statistic at the end of last year, and I'm not going to quote that because I don't know whether it's true or not. Zonia probably has a much better idea of what is and isn't true. But we do have a major problem in this country when it comes to teen pregnancy. You know, around New Year and Christmas, they always say how many Christmas babies were born and how many New Year's babies were born. And it's frightening how many of those babies are the babies of teen moms. Young girls who should be at school, young girls who should be thinking about their future. Sometimes they have no idea of what's going on. Sometimes they have no say in what's going on. And I wonder if those statistics are going to upset you as much as they did me. It was one of the things I did hear over the holidays, even though I was avoiding news. But let's welcome Zonia. Hello, Zons. How are you?
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good. Nice to see you. And happy Monday. Listen, I started with the subject that I know you know a lot more about than the rest of us, but it's something which we should all, as South Africans, be aware of. And it's something we should do whatever we can to help, I don't know, diminish. We have a massive problem with teen pregnancies in South Africa. I wonder how we're doing on that front. Then we'll get to HIV. Tell us about the actual statistics.
Yeah, I think I'm going to break it down into a daily number. So if you look throughout the year, how many pregnancies or how many live births comes from girls between the ages of 10 and 17, that number per day is 291 babies are born from girls the age 10 to 17. Now, like you said, you know, some of these girls, when you're that young, your body can't even carry another human being. And then we need to also call it what it is. It's not necessarily teen pregnancy, it's statutory rape. But I think the most important question here is why? Why is this happening? And the thing is, you know, and you said we'll get to HIV later, but everything is interlinked. The teen pregnancy, HIV, GBV, I mean, there's on average 116 rapes reported every day. That's just from the ones reported. But then we need to look at our unemployment rate, and that's sitting at a 60.7% for the youth between 15 and 24. So now you start thinking about it and say, well, why is there such a high teen pregnancy rate? Why is there such a high GBV rate? Why do these young women feel like, you know, they have no choice? And when you do not have access to an income for basic necessities, like sanitary wear for girls, what is your only currency? And I know it's a big way to come in here, but that's kind of the reality of the situation.
Well, I mean, you deal with this stuff every day, so there's no need for you to kind of tread carefully around it. We also need to know what's actually going on. I see a comment here from Glynis who says, thank you, Gareth, for talking about teen pregnancy and HIV. This is something we introduce at schools as part of their curriculum. Well, clearly, though, Glynis, the message is not getting through. Or, as Zonia says, people's personal and financial circumstances are so absolutely awful that this is the only currency they have. And it doesn't matter how much you tell them it's bad, and you explain the situation and what it can mean for their futures. If that's all they can do to survive, then we've got a major problem on our hands.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, it's great that it is in schools, but we need to speak more openly about it. So even if a young woman doesn't have a choice, right, from a financial point of view, she should have the choice to ensure that she doesn't contract HIV. So there's HIV prevention methods called PrEP, which is pre-exposure prophylaxis. It takes 7 days before you have unprotected sex, which prevents you from getting HIV, plus post-exposure. So, and this is also for people in occupational situations or where condom broke. But can you imagine a young woman? Plus, then there's emergency contraception and all of that stuff. But a young woman is scrutinized and judged. And even if, I mean, there is a multitude of free services. At Shout It Now, we especially focus on the youth to provide this youthful, non-judgmental environment. Our staff are young, recruited from the environments in which they serve. We have these beautiful private custom-built mobile buses. But the services are all for free, and there's a lot of services that are for free, but it's so stigmatized.
That's incredible, though. I just want to stop for a second, because Shout It Now, are you guys an NGO that does this to try and help these young women and obviously the young men as well, but primarily these young women? You have trucks. You have these counselors. You supply sanitary wear. What exactly do you do?
So we focus on HIV and gender-based violence prevention, especially focused towards young women, adolescent women and young girls between the ages of 10, 15 to 24. And we are funded by PIPFAR from the CDC. And we work with the local government, with the Department of Health, with multiple partners to ensure that we can provide a holistic offering to the youth. So that's what we do at the moment. But currently what we've seen recently is the implementation of what we call economic strengthening. And this is not only are we tasked to look after young people's health in terms of HIV prevention, HIV treatment, contraception, gender-based violence. We have social workers all over. Now we need to implement economic strengthening, which is basically providing them with a platform where they can learn how to write a CV, potentially get a job. We having to try to get seed money for her to, I don't know, start making bracelets or, which helps, but it's not sustainable. And we need the support of private sector, one that's got such a phenomenal, credible voice to destigmatize access to free health services or preventative services. And then second of all, any private sector brand that's got youth, whether it's boys or girls, in their consumer set needs to get on board with that and look at what is the price of your brand, because it could potentially come with the risk of HIV or unwanted pregnancy or gender-based violence.
I do have to admire that the work that you guys do, even though there's mission creep. I mean, you start off trying to, help people with health issues and young girls, teen pregnancy, HIV, all the things that you were speaking about now, but also to then have to get involved in creating opportunities and helping these people to find a place in the economy. This shows you how big this task is for the whole of South Africa. So obviously you're calling for corporates to help you, because this is expensive stuff that you're doing and you've got to reach as many people as possible. But it also is a pretty poor reflection on us as a country that we're leaving this many people behind.
I think the thing is, and we don't need to overcomplicate it. The first thing is we really need to destigmatize the conversation around sexual and reproductive health so that young people have free access. We need to start speaking openly about with our boys to raise them to be the men that's, that we expect them to be. And then second of all, yes, we need a commitment from the private sector, because if you've got the youth in your consumer segment, right, and you're thinking, the youth segment is growing, but sitting with a 60.7% unemployment rate, think about what that's going to mean in 5 years' time. Because at the moment, where are these young people finding the money to spend them? And I'm talking about necessity. So data, cell phone, not to be fancy, but to have access to information, right? Sanitary, if you can stay in school, transport. These are basic necessities. Then couple that with these amazing lifestyles that we project in the ads. Where's the money coming from? For those products. So I think we need to just be real.
That's quite scary. Okay, so Leanne, I'm sure you've got some questions. You've also you monitor social media. You know that these things are going on and that people are in desperate need in this country. You have any questions for Zonia? The work they do at Shout It Now?
I think firstly, just to be expressive of how shocking it is that these girls are as young as 10 years old. I mean, you think you're in grade 1 when you're 6. It's just a few years later. And the statistic has certainly changed a lot since when I was their age. But it also makes me remember back to that time, when we were trying to educate ourselves at that age on things like reproductive health and, what to do when you get your period and things like that. We actually only really spoke to our friends about it. We didn't often speak to our moms about it. I know things have changed now, but culturally and historically, and especially when you're looking at a more traditional setting, and the stigmas associated around everything, these girls are probably just talking to each other. And it must be such a difficult, not market, but area, a genre of people to get through to and say, we're here to help you. Firstly, this is free. Because I would have immediately thought, if I was in a sticky situation at that age, that something would be way too expensive and out of my league. So what do? I speak to my friends about what to do, which is just bad advice. So it must be such a difficult thing to try and get into these places and spread your message.
And yes, I'm in the marketing department, and it's we have in public health, we have a history of speaking at young people, and saying condomize and abstain, where that isn't the reality. And we've been working really, really hard to drive conversation, to provide content that is not dictating to the young person, but rather engaging with the young person. And that's why I have this invitation for big brands or small brands or brands of anything that would be appealing to the youth to help us in the conversation, because it's going to take me much longer to get that message out there and to try to destigmatize. Firstly, at least let people know what services are available, where they can find the services, and actually as a collective and as a society, then reinforce that services to the youth needs to be destigmatized. Because as soon as a big brand starts speaking that free access and it needs to be youth friendly and it should be for everyone, within the age brackets, then society would put pressure to ensure that these services are conducted in a way that is conducive to the youth and where they feel welcome for that. So in terms of the conversation,
where can people find out more? And if they want to get involved, if they're a corporate that wants to put some money into this very good initiative, maybe they can help. But also, if they're just someone listening now who thinks someone they know needs to get in contact with you for any of those reasons, contraception, teen pregnancy, HIV, gender-based violence, you guys provide these incredible services. Maybe there's someone who really needs them right now. How can they get hold of you?
So you can just email us at info@shoutitnow.org. So info@shoutitnow.org. You can find me personally on LinkedIn. My name just pops up. I know it's a difficult one, but however you can try to find us, even if you just Google Shout It Now, you will be able to get hold of us. But let's just please start the conversation.
Beautiful. Well done on this work. It's awesome. Making a big difference.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us on that.
Good stuff. Very good.
Bye.
That is Sonia Penzhoorn, and we're talking about Shout It Now and the work that they do. Such necessary work for so many young women in this country, and not only the young women, the young men too. You heard her.
Yeah.
Trying to help people get employed. We're trying to help people make better life decisions. It's a very, very difficult business, this. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Monday morning, Cliff